Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Monday morning. Not too much longer to go until we get some Seahawks preseason action. I know we're all excited to actually see some games, even if they don't count. There's a lot of stuff to look out for, and we're going to do things a little bit differently today. I want to get some predictions out there before the preseason starts. I may adjust things as the preseason goes on and we learn things, but I wanted to get some stuff on the record before we actually see even the meaningless games, the preseason. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about players who I think are going to show improvement from 2020 to 2021. So, basically, the players who I think are going to take a big step forward to helping this team win, and also some of the players who I think are going to take small steps forward to add a little bit of extra value in a couple of spots to help this team be better. So we're going to cook up a few more of these sorts of videos before the preseason gets started on Saturday, but today we're going to do the top 5 players who I think will show the most improvement in 2021 for the Seahawks. Fifth place, and this is more of an honorable mention than anything else, goes to DK Metcalf, the third-year receiver from Mississippi. We all know about DK Metcalf. We know he's awesome. We know he does all this cool stuff. We know he's a freak. We love him. We know there are some holes in his game that he needs to work on, but I'm not going to say anything about his numbers because I don't know what his numbers are going to look like. Because the offense is changing, because it's a whole new scheme, because I think Wilson will want to spread the ball around a little bit more, because we're using tight ends more, I don't know if DK Metcalf's numbers are going to be that much better than they were in 2020. He had great numbers in 2020. 83 catches, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and played pretty well in the playoff loss. You can't get that much better than that, which is why DK Metcalf's just 5th place here. But I'll say this. As of right now, if you ask the average NFL fan who thinks about things on a somewhat cerebral level, they will tell you that they consider DK Metcalf to be a fringe top 10 wide receiver. I think by the end of 2021, he will be fringe top 5. I think most people will be putting him in their top 5 receivers. So whatever that tiny step up might be for Metcalf, be it better efficiency, more touchdowns, more broken tackles, more big plays, I say he takes that step and becomes a borderline top 5 guy. So that's my number 5, DK Metcalf. Number 4, Marquise Blair, the safety out of Utah, entering his 3rd year as well. The only reason why he's not higher is because I don't know how much he's going to play, because there's a lot of players in front of him in the secondary. We know he has versatility, though. We know he can play both safety spots, at least somewhat. Some people say he wouldn't be much of a free safety because his skill set doesn't totally match it. We don't know if he can be a good outside corner. We know he can play strong safety pretty well in theory, and we know he can play some nickel pretty well in theory. But this guy has the versatility to take the field in a lot of different circumstances. We just don't know how often those circumstances are going to come up. But I think they will come up enough to where you see a guy who looks like he belongs in the NFL, because through 2 seasons, we really haven't seen a ton to go on yet. And I think that you can construct a very credible argument that Carroll just hasn't been a big fan of Blair so far. I think you can make an argument that he didn't like Blair when we drafted him, and it was a Schneider pick. That's why we traded for Diggs. That's why we traded for Adams. That's why we went out and signed guys like Ahkello Witherspoon. That's why we drafted Trey Brown. All these things are barriers to Blair actually getting on the field. And I don't know exactly what Carroll doesn't see in Blair that makes him think this is a necessity, but he's on the roster, and our secondary has some question marks in it. It has some injury risks in it, so I'm going to say Blair gets on the field enough in 2021 to show a significant improvement over what we saw his first 2 years. Last year he got hurt. He barely played, so it's not going to be hard to improve on that. But you're going to see a guy who looks like he belongs in the NFL. So that's my number 4 pick for most improved player for the Seahawks in 2021, Marquise Blair. I will say that First off, he's going to prove his value through his flexibility, his ability to play safety and corner. You might see him play some safety when Jamal Adams moves into the box to kind of play linebacker. You might see him play some corner in certain packages on the inside. If Witherspoon or Brown or DJ Reed get hurt or start playing bad, you might see him on the outside. He's going to prove his value with his versatility, and I'm going to say he actually makes some plays this year. I'm going to say he forces some turnovers. I'm going to say he makes some plays in the backfield, and by the end of the year, we'll look at him and go, that is a legitimate NFL defensive back. All right, number 3, we have LJ Collier. Now, there are some barriers to LJ Collier having a true breakout year. There are a lot of players on that defensive line ahead of him. But it sounds like we're moving him inside, which is probably where he needs to be in order to be the best version of himself. And there are plenty of snaps to go around on the interior of the defense for LJ Collier. So, moving to this position on a more full-time basis, competing with snaps for with guys like Poona Ford and Brian Monet and possibly somebody like a Miles Adams, I think he's going to play enough to where we're going to see something pretty good from him by the end of the year. I made a video talking about LJ Collier in more depth about a month or two ago. I think this year we need to be looking for something around 6 sacks. I'm not going to say he needs to get to like 10 because he's not going to play enough for that. We have a very good rotation on this defensive line. That's why LJ's not higher. But I do think we should look to him to maybe become a 6-sack guy, maybe rack up, improve from 17 pressures in 2020 to maybe something like 25. And if he can get to those benchmarks and find other ways to make plays as well, plays in the backfield, we will have ourselves a credible pass rushing defensive tackle by the end of the year. So I'm going to say Collier is number 3 on the most improved list. He's not higher just because he's not going to play a ton of snaps, but I think he'll play enough. Okay, now we move on to number 2. This one's going to be pretty quick. It's Damien Lewis, the guard, second-year guard. The only reason why he's not number 1 is he was really solid last year. He was good. He was effective as a rookie. He played a lot of snaps. I think he started every game, or at least close to every game. Had a PFF grade of 70.2. Committed a lot of penalties, which is not surprising from a rookie, but he held his own in general. Great in run blocking. Showed potential in pass blocking, although he did give up 3 sacks, which is not what you're looking for from a guard, but it's not terrible. And from what I've been hearing in camp, and from what I've been seeing from him, from the little bit we've been able to see from our vantage point as fans, I think he's poised to become a monster, or at least take steps towards becoming a monster in 2021. We could be looking at a guy who anchors the interior of this offensive line for a long time if we choose to keep him around. I see Damien Lewis as somebody with Pro Bowl potential, somebody who can be one of the best guards in the league, possibly starting this year. At the very least, I expect him to take some steps towards being that player in 2021. Only reason why he's not number 1 is because he was already good last year, and you can only go so far up from being good already. All right, now we go on to number 1. The player that I don't like very much. Okay, that's not totally fair, but it's Jordan Brooks, linebacker, entering his second year from Texas Tech. I didn't like this pick very much when we made it. Those of you who are old enough on this channel to remember my reaction to the pick, you will remember that I didn't care for it at all. I want to reiterate, it's not personal. I don't think he's a bad player, and I didn't think he was a bad player when we drafted him. It's just not my philosophy. However, now that we're here, now that he's on the team, now that he's clearly got his starting job lined up because KJ Wright's not going to come back, it looks like, I think that Jordan Brooks is going to show massive improvement in 2021, and he would be my number 1 pick for most improved. In 2020, he was fine. PFF was very lukewarm on him at best, but he made a couple of plays in the backfield. He got QB pressure on 1 or 2 occasions, made 1 or 2 plays in coverage, gave up some stuff as well. He missed a couple tackles. It was a very ordinary rookie season for a guy like this. He didn't get on the field a ton because we had 2 linebackers in front of him. When he did, he was fine, but he wasn't showy, he wasn't flashy, he didn't make any monster plays or do anything to really, like, change the direction of games single-handedly. But he was fine. I didn't have any huge issues with his rookie year, but this year, I think he's going to take a big step forward, and I don't know if he's ever going to be able to make me like the draft pick that brought him to Seattle. In fact, I think he probably can't, because philosophically that's just not how I would run a team. But that doesn't mean he's married to being a bad player. In fact, I think he's going to be a good player, and I think that we will come out of this at least saying, hey, we got a quality piece with our 27th overall pick in 2020. So I'm going to say he becomes a triple-digit tackle guy if he plays all 17 games. I'm going to say he starts making plays. Maybe he starts racking up some sacks, some tackles in the backfield, some turnovers, some plays in coverage. He's going to be on the field enough to do it, almost certainly, right? Because he's going to probably, if he stays healthy, is probably going to be on the field for 75 to 85% of the snaps. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to prove that he's good. He's got some matchups this year that are going to really highlight what he can do as a player, highlight his speed. When we play Kyler Murray, when we play Trey Lance, these are guys who Jordan Brooks needs to show what he can do against, because a big reason why we brought Jordan Brooks into the division is because we wanted somebody to chase down those guys, because, you know, KJ Wright not really going to chase those guys down, and maybe that's why we're moving on. So I'm going to say he takes a big step forward this year and is our most improved player in 2021. That's my top 5. Let me know what you think down below. I'm getting out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. Keep an eye out for more videos like this in the coming days.